Every single day, over 100,000 tons of glass are made around the world. Just in the US, millions of tons are produced annually. And to make that much glass, we need a massive amount of processed sand, literally thousands of tons every day. But how exactly does this fine powder turn into one of the most widely used materials on the planet? In today's video, we're diving into the fascinating process of glassmaking, starting with something as simple as silica sand. Stick around. This is going to blow your mind. I'm Vita, and you're watching Tudo Tech HD. Before we jump in, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Glass is everywhere. From the screen you're watching this on, to skyscrapers, cars, and solar panels. It's practically impossible to imagine modern life without it. And while it may seem fragile, glass can be incredibly tough. Reinforced glass can handle extreme temperatures, high pressure, and even strong impacts. That's why it's used in so many industries, especially construction. Now, here's something cool. Glass was probably discovered by accident thousands of years ago. Ancient people found that when certain sands and ashes were heated together, they created a shiny, solid material once it cooled, what we now call glass. The earliest glass artifacts, like beads and vases, date back to around 3000 BC in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. But it was the Romans, around 50 BC, who really changed the game by inventing glassblowing. That allowed them to make larger, more complex shapes much faster. Fast forward to the Industrial Revolution, and we got furnaces and machines that made it possible to produce glass on a massive scale. But the glass still wasn't perfect. Literally. It had to be ground and polished to become flat and clear, which made it pricey. Then came a breakthrough in 1952, when British engineer Sir Alistair Pilkington invented the float glass method. This technique let manufacturers produce smooth, flat glass continuously by floating molten glass on top of molten tin. That changed everything. Now we can make flawless glass on a massive scale, and at a much lower cost. So, what is glass made of? The main ingredients are silica sand, sodium carbonate, limestone, and recycled glass, also called cullet. This dry mix is called the batch. Silica sand is rich in quartz and is usually mined from riverbeds, deserts, and sedimentary rock formations. After it's extracted, it gets washed, filtered, and purified before heading to the glass factory. Large manufacturers might receive up to 5,000 tons of sand every week. The ingredients are stored in giant silos and measured with precision. Sand makes up about 60% of the mix. Sodium carbonate lowers the melting point of silica, and limestone adds durability. The recycled glass? It melts faster than raw materials, which saves energy and makes the process more eco-friendly. Some additives like iron oxide or cobalt give the glass a bluish tint. Once the ingredients are ready, they're fed into a giant furnace. These industrial furnaces are built with refractory bricks and can run 24/7 for over a decade without shutting down. Inside, the mixture heats up to around 2,900 degrees Fahrenheit, 1,600 degrees Celsius, and turns into molten glass. This molten liquid flows into a hotter zone to eliminate bubbles and imperfections. Then comes the most iconic part of the process, the float bath. The molten glass is poured onto a pool of molten tin. Since tin is denser, the glass floats on top, spreading out evenly. Gravity and surface tension naturally flatten the glass into a smooth, uniform sheet. By adjusting the flow speed and using rollers at the sides, manufacturers can control the thickness of the glass. As it exits the float bath, the glass has cooled slightly but is still extremely hot. It moves into a lair, a long tunnel where it's slowly cooled in a process called annealing. This helps prevent internal stresses that could cause cracks. The glass enters the tunnel at about 1,100 degrees Fahrenheit, 600 degrees Celsius, and exits at room temperature, fully stabilized and ready to be cut. Cutting is done by machines using diamond-tipped tools. The glass is scored and then snapped along the line for a clean break. Any rejected pieces are crushed and recycled back into the process. Good sheets are stacked vertically with protective layers to avoid scratches or breaks. and then shipped to the market. Now, that's the industrial side. But what about handcrafted glass? In artisanal workshops, glass is still made the old-fashioned way, by hand. Each furnace contains different colors of molten glass. Using a metal ladle, artisans scoop the hot glass and bring it to the mixing table. Timing is crucial. If the glass cools too fast, it hardens before shaping. To make marbled or multicolored designs, artists mix up to 5 colors of molten glass using a special fork. Then, the molten glass is run through a roller system that flattens it into a sheet. The distance between rollers controls the final thickness. Next, the sheet goes into a cooling oven for annealing, just like in the industrial process. Cutting is done manually with a precision tool tipped in diamond or carbide. And there you have it. How over 100,000 tons of glass are made every single day. If you want to see how a Bic pen is made, check out the link in the description and pinned comment. Smash that like button if you learned something new, and share this video with a friend who geeks out on manufacturing processes. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and what topic you want to see next. Thanks for sticking around to the end. Tap one of the videos on your screen to keep learning. And hey, may God bless you and your family. See you in the next one.